Welcome to the Don't Go There podcast. I'm Dr. Brenda Gazelle, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Samantha Seaton, Amanda Krotzer, and Jennifer Sasaki. We are four psychotherapists going toward mental health issues that aren't often discussed. And our podcast may go to psychological places that are both scary and exciting. We hope to inspire authenticity and vulnerability. We want to go there, and we're so happy you've decided to go there with us.
Hi there, this is Dr. Brenda Gazelle, and I am here today with my co-host, Amanda Schubert. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Hi, and we have a guest with us today. It's Ryan Michele Wall.
Hello.
Hi. Ryan's a clinician at Gazelle Psychotherapy in Newport Beach, and she focuses on working with couples and women. She particularly specializes in working with women and motherhood. And she is a mother herself with 3 boys, one age 7, one age 4, and one age 2. So thank you for being our guest today, Ryan.
Of course. Yes. I'm excited. Thank you, Ryan. It's so exciting to have you here. I love what you specialize in and who you work with. Mothers, women, motherhood. And I'm really excited to start diving into a topic that's come up before within the practice is this mom guilt. It's pretty common. And it comes with the idea and the question of, are you screwing up your kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'd love to, I know with Brenda here, dive in a little more with you into this idea of mom guilt, how you work with it, both in maybe your personal life and with clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm excited. And I feel a lot of pressure, actually, because it's something that's so simple, but it's really big and it's really impactful. Myself included, which is why I'm so passionate about it. You know, I'm lucky I got a graduate degree in psychology and, you know, I'm a therapist now. So I have some tools and it's still hard. It's still really hard. And, you know, my own personal therapy. So it's really hard to own being a mom. You know, we all have human moms, right? So we've all been disappointed, or most of us, let's just say 99% have been disappointed, for those of you who haven't gotten there yet.
But by just by your humanity. That they're both good and bad.
At some point they've let us down, even if it's just a little. And when that's happened, you know, some of us that's easier to acknowledge and some it isn't. And it just, whether we like it or not, it trickles into motherhood. And it gets really tricky because some of us want to do the very opposite of what our moms did in an attempt to be loving and to have the connection that maybe they didn't have. And some of us want to model and never feel like enough. Mm-hmm. So that battle of going back and forth of, is it enough? Am I enough? Am I doing good enough? Okay, I feel really good today because my kids aren't screaming in the grocery store.
Yes.
Look at them, they're drawing at the restaurant.
Yes.
That feels so validating. And then in the very next moment, they're throwing a tantrum and you're like, ding. I thought I had it down.
Feeling it, yeah. And that's that whole feeling of it's so hard it's like they're extensions of you and if you're good enough or not today.
Exactly.
And so your worth is always being kind of measured by their behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really none of that's even true.
Right.
That they're kids and that these things are going to happen and we have everything we need and we can get if we don't already have it, we can get it to take care of them and to raise them in a way that they feel loved and connected. And really learn to hold the capacity to let them, you know, have their tantrums and be kids and it not be that extension of ourselves to think, oh, well, if they're acting this way, then I must be failing. But it's tricky because I think mom guilt, the way that I use that word, is I think it's actually a signal. I think it's actually in a very attuning signal that's saying like, hey, I'm attuned to my kid. I have a sense something is wrong. You know, it starts out that way, right? Beautiful. It's like, oh, should we have a date night tonight? Should we go out? Are the kids okay? I don't know about you. You know, my middle one today was just really clingy. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe and then I have to look and I have to sift through what happens next, which is, am I doing enough? Are we connected? Right. Which people take the word mom guilt and it starts with that intuition part, but then it keeps going and it doesn't stop. So
what do you mean it keeps going? It doesn't stop.
It extends into the I'm wondering if I'm enough.
Shame.
And the shame, and wondering if I'm a good mom. But really it's two different things. Yeah. So it's really tricky.
I wanted to stop you for a minute because I love this idea of if you don't have everything you need to raise a child, you can get it. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And I don't think that everybody has all that they need to raise a child. I think there's a huge deficit.
Yeah.
And that's probably what causes mom guilt a lot, is that they're realizing I didn't get enough in my own childhood, so I don't know how to do this. So this idea, though, that you can get it, what do you mean by that?
A few things. There's, just on the surface level, there are so many resources. I think the more that we learn about child development and about children's brains really helps us just understand our children. That's there. And then I think that there's a whole process internally of healing and of really becoming an integrated whole person yourself. That's really, really important. And that just takes a yearning for and a willingness to kind of go there, because once we're kind of whole and integrated, then we can start, when we need to, separating that space between, what's mine and what's my child's and how can I meet their need.
Okay. So I just have to jump in again because it's so interesting to me because, it is tricky, isn't it? Because you started with mom guilt, which is such a great idea that it could be a signal. And if it's a signal for me, that maybe I do need to look in. Maybe there is something I should be guilty for.
Right.
And it's a very different and I think astute stance that you're bringing, because I think so often so many people would say, "Oh, you're just feeling guilty." Kind of ignore the guilt. Yeah. You're perfect. You're fine as you are. You're good enough. And what you're suggesting is, well, maybe the guilt does have some validity.
Right. Exactly.
But we could use it to then be better parents.
Right.
So that let's not just ignore the guilt.
Right.
That's pretty powerful. I think that's pretty innovative. Have you heard that other places, this idea?
No. I just hear my mom friends throw it out all the time.
Guilt.
And I had mom guilt. Oh, and of course this happened. And so then I had mom guilt. And I'm thinking, well, what do you mean by that? Because of course you're a good parent. So when that happened, you thought to yourself, what's going on here? Am I meeting their need? But it's what happens next. Do they kind of spiral into that shame that I'm not enough, I'm failing? Do they, then they're there too much? I struggle with that. That would definitely be my bent, is that I'm like, I'm never going to subtly, emotionally, or at any point abandon my kid ever. I'm always going to be there. He made it makes me very attuned to them.
But to make up for your own sense of feeling abandoned yourself.
Right.
So
exactly.
now you're overcorrecting, you would say.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's the opposite, where you're going to ignore. You're going to say, oh no, mom, I'm good. Because the reality that you are failing a little bit is terrifying. Because they are little humans and you don't want to do the thing your parent did or whatever it is terrifying. So there's that turning away. So I think the mom guilt word is kind of a, for me culturally, it's kind of a one of those phrases I would love if it could be, I don't know,
expanded on,
or just
pursed out. Yeah.
Or just you get rid of it.
Oh.
You could do that, but also
I love it. It's a signal,
right? Yeah, it is.
So if I'm feeling that, mom guilt, that means that maybe something's up, and it's probably much bigger, much more powerful,
right?
Than I realize. It's probably some data that there's something going on about my past, something I didn't get. There's something bigger here. And if I could take it seriously as a gift,
right.
Each time I felt that it had something to teach me, it had some wisdom,
right.
Instead of just going into a shame spiral.
Right. Well,
that would be really good.
And I like this idea more of exploration than a resistance to being like our mom or being better than our mom.
Yeah.
Right. But using that information to figure out maybe who you want to be as a mom. And what that balance looks like owning some of that guilt.
And how you can be the mom that you want to be. Because I think that's the thing is it's so easy to think this is mom I'm going to be, And my friends, I have friends who had, healthier families than I did, and they still struggle, which helped, it just is what it is. But the other thing you said about it being a gift, Brenda, to me, when I'm sitting with my clients, the thing that I'll say is that just because you noticed, just because you felt that, know that you're tuning. Right? Because I don't think people know what it feels like. I don't think they know exactly when they're tuning or not. And this.
Yes. So, right there, the idea that a tuning can feel bad.
Right.
What a powerful idea that I don't think people know very often. So that I feel guilty means, I'm attuning that something's wrong with my kid and I'm not doing it right. That's part of attunement.
Right. And that is a signal that you're doing a great job. But then it's what happens next. It's just.
Keep going.
It's just.
What do you mean happens next?
Well, like for my client, and the moms that even my mom friends, when we talk about this, I'll always just say, like, that moment right there, just know that that's what it feels like and trust that. Because what I had to learn with my first especially is that I had to actually learn what attunement felt like, and then I had to trust that bond.
Can you give us a concrete example?
Okay. I'll talk about what's it called when you teach your kids how to fall asleep by themselves. Sleep training. Yeah. It's a big deal. Okay. And some people aren't going to like this, but I have a very, specific way I sleep train my kids, which is not how culture does it. Because let's say baby wise, when was that? I want to say, I don't know. So I think it was like 20 years ago this book came out, and it was basically, you let the kid
for breast, yeah,
and cry it out, but they were a little kind. It was like you made it bigger and bigger, but with my abandonment stuff, right? I could not bear to do that, but I also knew that was my abandonment stuff, and that I did need to give space for my children to learn to self-soothe when they were ready, but I just had to pay really close attention. So a lot of moms will sleep train them like, okay, it's time for sleep training. They go in their crib. I put my headphones on and I listen to music.
You do, or this is what they say they do.
Yeah. Something, because it's so painful for the mom to hear the crying. And I'm thinking, yes, it's painful, which means it's either going on too long, right? That's that attunement. And then instead of listening to that attunement, going towards the child and learning how to hold that tension of I'm attuning to you and I know, but also we have to learn this thing slowly. So my kid.
But what a great thing. How do you know that it's that you're not attuning and it's not your abandonment stuff that you were just saying? Because what I'm hearing, I don't think the audience knows, is that you're saying that when your baby would cry, it would almost feel like the parent leaving, or you, or recapitulating you being left by your parent.
Yes, it would feel very painful and very.
So that's how do you see the difference between that?
I think that was just my therapy. That was my work. And so when we talk about there's resources to become the mom that you want to be, some of that's just child research, but a lot of that's going to be our work and how we grow and how we choose to engage with the things that get triggered in motherhood. And it's so normal, right? But there's that guilt that turns into shame, really, of, oh my gosh, it's just me. I don't know what I'm doing. There's all these MOPS groups. I've been a part of MOPS for a long time and women love it.
What's MOPS, just for the audience?
Mothers of preschoolers. So we all get together and basically totally normalize this experience of, it was hard for you too, and your baby cried. And when did your baby start crawling? Because it's so terrifying when it's just you. So anyway, so basically just those resources, that it's so important and it's so normal, that actually what moms crave the most is to know that they're not the only ones. Right. This is hard for.
But with that attunement piece, and you're talking about the sleep training, I think it's such a great example. And so right away, I think we need just to explain that, most attachment research, acknowledges that attunement is the way to a secure, healthy attachment with your child. So we want to have attunement. That's one of the, biggest pieces when we're looking at attachment. And so how do we do that? And I think already what we've come to is that we use our guilt. We try to make sense of it. And then we go get resources to help get better. But also that we were talking about attuning and seeing the difference between that does sound so hard. It's like, okay, well, you go to therapy and somehow in therapy, you're going to figure out, is my baby crying because I'm doing a good job and I'm sleep training the right way? Or is my baby crying because I'm a bad mom or abandoning? I mean, that sounds, how does therapy do that? I guess would be a question for all of us because I think that must be so like, how would therapy do that?
Yeah. Well, for me, what the sleep training looked like is I took months and I would do it very, very slowly. And I would do it when I started noticing that, during naps and stuff, they'd fall asleep on their own at different times. And there were just certain things that I started noticing that, I think he'd be okay. And so then I tried out, and I tried to take they didn't have, pacifiers or anything. So I just do it slow and I try it. And if it was too much and it seemed like he was terrified, because there's a difference when they're crying and they're really sad and they're terrified, right? And that's what the whole tuning's about. So for me, it was when I learned to trust my bond, my son was 9 months old, my oldest, and I had read like four sleep books. And I was just so worried about which one, but none of them felt right. So I decided to take what I wanted from each one and make it my own. And then I just had to trust it. And then I watched my son slowly fall asleep on his own without being anxious for bedtime, without being, still being able to reach for me, during the day. I watched for all the signals, but also I knew to do some of that because I, was in grad school and was learning all these things. So that was very helpful, but it's still a resource for other people. I was so keenly aware of my desire and yearning to be bonded, for my children to know through and through that they were safe and loved. That was my main objective. But I also knew they had to find their independence. Yes. So I just would hold that tension and I'd say, okay, do you feel safe and loved? The look in their eyes or the way that they start crawling away, all those developmental milestones that can really give you a snapshot of your your bond. And I just pay attention. And if I felt something was off, I'd kind of reel back.
Yeah, so keenly getting in touch with your intuition, keenly getting in touch with your sense of your child and what they need and knowing it's very unique.
Yes.
And that each of your children are going to be unique. And saying, I'm going to trust this relationship. And like Siegel says, the subtle nuances in how we communicate. And not just say, this is what the book said, so I'm going to do it and tolerate it, even if it makes us both feel bad or terrorized.
Right.
And I think that's so often what people do. It's like, well, this is just happening because it's how my parent did it, or it's what the book said, and I'm going to put headphones on and forget it because I don't feel like I can trust my intuition. I don't feel like I can trust that bond. I don't feel like I can trust that attunement.
Yeah.
It makes me think of years later why I hear so many mothers say to their sons and daughters, may it be in family therapy or self-report by the child, that the adult mother will look at them and there's no attunement. And they'll say, I was a good mother, wasn't I? It was all good, wasn't it? And both of them know it wasn't good.
Right.
And the mom is saying, please don't make me look at my mom guilt and shame and just tell me it was okay because I can't tolerate it. And all we're doing is recapitulating the misattunement in that moment again and again every time she asks, because she's never did just listen to that guilt and say, honey, did I do something wrong? Did I miss you? We can tolerate that. And I think that's where you get good parenting, is that you say we can tolerate.
Yeah, the tolerating of
the misattunement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My oldest, he's my oldest, right? So every new phase he goes into, I'm relearning it. And there's new things. He's 7 now. And so all the peer stuff's going on. And because of the way that feels to me, it gets, pretty dysregulating to be like, oh my gosh, well, I got a call from the principal. That's one of those things. Like, no, but this is a real red flag. This is a real one. I need to really watch myself. What's going on?
As a parent, you're saying.
Yeah.
When you get a call from the principal.
And I have to fight the urge I have to ask the question. Of course, I cannot do the thing where I say, oh, that was no big deal. Principal shouldn't have called, right? That's one way. And then there's a way where I spiral and I start catastrophizing. And I just have to tolerate that I'm trusting my bond with my son right? I'm trusting because there's all this other proof. He loves to snuggle at bedtime, and he's who, he feels safe with me. When he writes things about his families, he uses the word loved and safe. And I'm like, that's it? That's it. Nothing else is going to be perfect. And I'm going to have to hold the tension that he has what he needs. He feels safe and he feels loved at home. And these things are going to happen, and I'm going to wonder. And then I'm going to, if I need some resources, I'm going to get them.
Mm. Okay. So this is really interesting. Do you have something to throw in there?
I'm loving it.
So this is something, as you're saying it though, I'm going, okay. So you did this great example of mom, a guilt in that moment, which is you're at home. And what age was it that the principal you're saying?
Oh, just happened.
Just happened. So, but which one?
My oldest, the 7-year-old.
Okay. So the 7-year-old is, you get a phone call from the principal, right? Saying your child has been at the principal office. You need to come down here. Was that, or that they were in the principal office today?
And they got a call, and they're coming home with the white slip, and
okay,
it's not okay.
So, and then in that moment, you felt guilt. Yes, is that what you're saying? I felt some mom guilt, quote unquote.
Yes.
Okay, so the guilt came, and then you said, but I just have to trust our bond, which I love. But that's a different piece than what we just talked about, where we said, listen to the guilt as a signal that maybe something is off. So I love this nuanced piece because I think this is important for parents to say, when do I trust the bond? And when do I listen to the guilt? And how do I make sense of all those mixed emotions right there? Because that's a little, you know what I mean? That's a whole piece there.
So I did both. Okay. I just didn't slow it down enough. So yeah, it is both, because my first thing is talking to my husband, and I'm like, okay, like, yes, he is a boy. Yes, he is 7, but no other kid in his class did it.
Right.
It's him. So what's going on for him? It is signaling to me. It is, of course, that he needs something from us.
Okay.
He needs something, but I'm also not going to then spiral and catastrophize, which is what I could do. And
into shame.
Right? And saying, oh my gosh, we failed him. I'm a bad mom. What are we doing wrong? Maybe I shouldn't work. I work a day and a half, 2 days a week max. And I started, that thought pops in my head. Like, maybe I just need to stay home full time. And I'm like, oh, Ryan, like, everything's okay.
Calm down.
Yes, everything's okay. He's trust. And then I go back and I remember, and I remember our bond. I remember that he is safe, that we have that attunement, that he's been attuned to, at least 30% of the time.
Love it. So the bond keeps you from feeling the shame, but not ignoring the guilt.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to listen to the guilt, keep getting curious with our son, what's going on, but we know the bond is there, so we don't have to spiral into shame. And that keeps us away from that I'm a bad mom place.
Yeah. But in order to feel the bond, you got to stay attuned, and you got to feel the bond, which is hard to do.
Yeah, you got to tolerate real unpleasant emotions.
Yeah.
Real unpleasant.
Right.
And that's what I think so many moms and dads, parents do not want to tolerate is the unpleasant emotion that comes with attuning.
Yeah, it sounds like such a nice, kind word.
It does.
Like, it's just like putting your head on a soft pillow.
Right.
But it holds a lot. It holds it all. It holds those moments. I was holding my littlest. He woke up from his nap and was all cuddly. And I was thinking, I'm like, thinking about this podcast. And I was thinking, this is what, the moments you live for. These are like, this is the moments you feel so good and you feel so validated as a mother. And he just loves me so much. And I love him and he knows it. And right. But then he's awake fully. He wakes up fully and he's a toddler and he's screaming for chips and, snack time's over. And those are the moments. It's actually not the best. Like we get, how should I say it? I don't know. It's kind of like Christmas, right? If you work all year, right? You work all year on your relationships and, financially to make money. And then you get to Christmas and you get to celebrate with your family and you get to open presents and those sweet moments where you actually feel the bond. Those are like Christmas morning, but you have to work so hard the rest of the year. You have to go through spring and summer and fall and take it all. And then you get to have these moments. That's how it feels.
Yeah. So let's go back to the chip moment. He wakes up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so because I get it, the attunement, right? They're laying in your arms and you're like, oh, isn't that lovely? And I'm so great and they're so great and we're so great. And symbiotic kind of feeling. And then all of a sudden they wake up, they say, I want chips, it's past snack time. Yeah. And what do you do to tolerate their dysregulation? Yeah.
Honestly, the way it feels to me, and this is my third, right? It wasn't as easy with my first and not with it gets easier because it becomes more normal. And especially knowing, again, the child research and brain development really helps. So when my toddler transitions, my feeling is like, oh, hi. Like, hi, my 2-year, like my toddler, Weston, that's how it feels. It's like, oh, there you are. Like, you're there too. And like, here we go. I'm going to do all the things. It doesn't dysregulate me like it did maybe with Sam, where I thought, okay. But again, I was in my work already, and that helped a lot.
Okay, so he says, Mom, I want chips, I want chips. And you say, snack time's over. And he says, no, but I want chips now.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah.
And then he gets on the ground and he starts melting down and crying. And he says, you're the worst mommy ever. You're the worst mommy ever.
Yeah.
And then how do you, tell me about that.
I'm feeling like, okay, he's like throwing ragers these days. And the first couple of times it was like, okay, here we go. Like, he's bigger now. He's 2. He's bigger person. He's showing up like in our family in ways he hasn't yet. So it's like everyone has to make space for him, literally, because he's
here. He's
here.
Himself in the world. Yes.
And you can feel it. And so it's kind of like you kind of make space and you're like, I know all the right things to do, right? Like you don't give them the chips and you say, you want the chips. You're so hungry. We're going to have dinner soon though. We're going to have dinner soon.
So what that's called though, maybe a lot of people don't know that actually, Ryan. So what you did right there was you attuned and gave empathy.
Yes.
Without giving or breaking the boundary.
Right.
So you held a boundary and said, even though you want chips, I'm not going to give in. And I'm going to, though, to empathize with how painful it is that you can't have the chips when you want it.
Yes.
It's actually a novel idea for some parents.
Yes, it is.
So when you say
really
all the right
hard
things to do, a lot of people don't know that
I've learned.
Quote unquote right on it.
That I've learned. It definitely didn't come natural. I did a lot. I'm still doing my own work just to be able to do that.
Yes, just to be able to hold the boundary and empathize that and say, I bet it feels like I'm the worst mommy ever. Because I won't give you chips.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the worst mommy ever because you're throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
You shouldn't throw tantrums, right? This is so disruptive. You should be able to that's like what my friends.
That's your inner feeling that you're not saying though. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what I hear moms feel all the time. The tantrum and the big feelings and all that is so dysregulating, whether it's, they won't go to sleep, and same thing, like Weston just went into a big boy bed.
Which one's
my 2-year-old.
The 2-year-old.
And he is, so it's like sleep training all over again. And he wants to come out of his room, and we're trying a few different things, but mostly what we do is we just sit there at the front at his door. We give him his tickles. It's not, we do it slow. We say, we're here. We have our little routine. And then we sit out his door and we say, but you have to go to bed now. Everyone's, he's like up past his brothers now. I'm like, everyone's asleep. And I have to keep sending him back and he throws tantrum. I've taken videos secretly because it's just so funny how he tries. He's tried everything.
Yes.
But I have to hold it.
Yes.
But I'm also not shutting him out.
Yes. And that looks like, yeah, go ahead.
No, it
looks like what?
Not shutting him out?
Yeah.
Not a few things, like literally not shutting the door.
Yes, okay. Good.
Right. We actually shut the door as a way to say, like, this is a gift. Like, you can lay in your bed and we're going to have a gift, not a gift, but try to make it seem like it's special that the door will be open. Right? The door's open, but you have to be in your bed. Right? So we tried that, but now it doesn't matter if we threaten to shut the door, which we really wouldn't. Because he's figured out how to turn his lights on. So now it's the next level. Like, well, how do I keep holding this without kind of punishing him?
Yes, because discipline is what? teaching, not punishing, right? It's so hard.
Yes. How do I not get angry at him? How do I not, tape the lights and just lock the door? How do I not do that? How do I hold this tension that I need you to sleep? And it feels like you're never going to go to sleep. But also I want to stay attuned to you, and I want you to know that we're safe.
Yeah.
You're safe, but also you need to go to bed.
Right. So the way that you make him feel safe, though, is that you're attuning and empathizing consistently, though, right?
Right. Well, I'm trying.
You have to go to sleep.
Sure, I'm trying.
You're sure trying. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're sure trying most of the time to say you have to go to sleep, but I get that you don't want to.
Yes.
And holding
the empathy.
There. Yes.
And you want more mommy snuggles. I know.
And you don't get them.
Yes.
But I know you want them.
And he is, anyway, and you go to bed, but when you wake up in the morning, I wake up and I'll say, good morning, Wes, and I'll give you a big hug. Yes. And he knows waking up is more fun than going to bed. He already knows that and feels that, and just helping him put words to that too. And also go ahead.
You're tolerating so much unpleasant emotion in that, though, you see.
For
him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what parents are often not wanting to do.
Yes.
Is say, I'm going to tolerate all this. They're going to say, close the door, bedtime's done. Because when you cry, I'm so dysregulated that I cannot handle it. So we are shutting it down. And shame on you for making me feel this dysregulated and like this bad of a mom or dad. And that's just, it's not a mean thing. It's them a parent trying to regulate themselves.
Right. They're trying. And I have so much compassion for all parents, and I work really hard, knowing the things that I know. I still hold every parent in my mind with compassion, because everyone is doing what they have. And the thing that I want to say and that I'm really passionate about is that you can have more. And there's things, there's the support, there's things you can learn, and you can go do some work where you can actually, get that attunement that you actually desire and have even an understanding for it. So I get that every parent is really trying their best most of the time. Mm-hmm. Most parents. I don't know if every parent tries their best.
Well, I think it gets complicated. I love that piece of you seeing him while holding the boundary at the same time. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. Is I am bad if I don't see them and then do what they need.
Yes, they give in.
Right, they give in.
Out or give in.
Or I just suck as a mom anyways, so I might as well shut off the lights and really hold that boundary, because if I see them, I'm wondering if that also makes the mom scene as well, because there's so much to hold and tolerate there. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. It does. There's a lot. I'm thinking, I said, I don't think every parent does their best. I think, and I still feel guilty when I say that, because I think what I mean by that is, I think everyone's trying their best, but I think we all parents, we all need to be open to more. I think I wish for every parent that they could
Beautiful,
want more, because there's more.
Yeah, and I think when you say, every parent's doing their best, when we see parents who look like they are intentionally cruel, it's hard to believe they're doing their best.
Right.
And the scary truth is, though, is they probably are.
Exactly.
Because what we're saying in those moments is it's probably just a reenactment.
Exactly.
We reenact abuse. So if their parent was intentionally cruel to them, then they probably are going to be intentionally cruel to their child. Or there's a good chance. Not probably.
Or even unintentionally cruel.
Or unintentionally cruel.
I mean,
all of it, the reenactment, because they're saying, I've got to I'll identify with the aggressor, or I've got to act this out. All those things that you do make sense of in therapy.
In therapy, yes.
I think the other piece that's so interesting, though, is that I think it's important to note that, you kept saying you can get your own work, but you can get your own resources, but so much of it is therapy. And I think it's because in therapy, if you weren't given what we're talking about as a child, which is attunement and empathy, but boundaries held, that then in therapy you can get that. That a therapist will give to you, the parent, finally that attunement, that empathy, but also hold a boundary.
Yes.
And then
internalizes.
Yes.
I always say it like it's an internal infant structure.
Yes.
For parenting, whenever I'm talking to my clients about parenting, my clients didn't have infrastructure, the core things that they need to be able to hold all these tensions, to get that attunement that results in this wonderful bond that they so desire and yearn for. So,
well, I have an interesting question just as we're talking all about this, and I just love to get your opinion, Ryan. Which is, when I think about so often though parenting, there is this sense that like, well, okay, so if I have my infrastructure and I'm all in place and I'm all good and healthy, quote unquote, because I've been doing my own work and reading these resources and I'm attuning well and empathizing with my child, that we forget maybe that ambivalence is normal.
Yes.
And I just think that is so not acknowledged in our society at all, that both the child will call you the worst mommy ever and really feel that and hate you sometimes and also love you. And that's normal. But that a mother also will often feel hate towards their child. Oh my God, I said it.
Yeah.
And love, right? And they will feel just such bad feelings. You're the worst child ever. Yeah. And you're also the best child ever. And that those are normal experiences, but there's something about a mother especially.
Yeah.
Having the experience of ambivalence towards their child that I think it just regulates everybody. Like we're only supposed to, as women and as mothers, feel only just this unconditional, pure, like shining rainbow Care Bear love. And if there's anything else, something's terribly wrong with you. You are a bad mom. And I think that right there causes a great deal of guilt and shame.
Yeah, I think it's there. For me, and my mom friends and the people I'm around, they do a pretty good job at
acknowledging
it. Yeah, I think it's becoming more normal.
How lovely
I think it's one of those things, between memes on Instagram, all those like things where it's like, oh yeah,
you're the worst kid ever.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love you. You're the best kid
but
ever.
Please, leave me alone.
Yes.
Please leave me alone. I just want to be left alone. And so for me, that is very real, and I think that goes to self-care. Which is like a whole other thing.
Well, let's mention that for a second. But before we go there, I just think one of the most interesting things I would like to hear your opinion on that is in that book, Becoming Attached. But Bowlby and other attachment research often cite it, and I used to say it a lot. I think I've said it on one of these podcasts. But in human development is, the rockabye baby song, right? And you hold the baby, and then you say, the whole time I'm holding this baby, I'm singing him rockabye baby. But then I also am saying, rockabye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will go baby, cradle and all. Yeah. I'm singing about the death of my child because they won't stop freaking crying.
Right.
And so there's this way in which I get to sublimate this disgust for child in the moment, or anger and incredible love to want to comfort.
Yes.
And that's a real experience that I feel people don't want to honor. And so I wonder, is that kind of the depth of that acknowledged in your group?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like when they say,
so.
I get that.
I mean, I think I have a good friend of mine, and we'll go to the gym, and she's like, I have to run because I had so much built up, like rage.
Oh yeah.
Rage of my, that my daughter was just so hard the last couple of days, and I just let it out, and I lost my cool, and I need to get this out because, and then we talk about it, and she, says all the things and does her run, and she's like, okay.
I can get back in there. I'm going to get you out in the ring. Okay.
But that's where I think that self-care, because I think part of that feeling, that rage that comes in, and that anger and the ambivalence is, it's so much, and it's all the time. And it's so much, and it's all the time.
What's so much and all the time?
Parenting and the giving and the attuning is exhausting. It's a lot of work, right? It's not Christmas every morning. It's like the whole year, every day. And then you get a few moments in the day. And so when they I noticed that for moms with better support systems, supportive husbands that co-parent, babysitters, grandparents, people that are they get breaks.
Yes.
Especially because parenting these days, it's very demanding. There's we know so many things now. So, naivety is bliss. Like, we know all these things and you can't unknow them. Like, we know we should be doing little activities with them and not put, the no TV and, okay, let's go jump on the trampoline. Okay, now let's color. Okay, let's have a snack. Let's talk about the colors. And then it's only been like 40 minutes. And you're like, and so for me, it's like my husband and I have done date nights pretty much once a week it started in grad school because we were forced to. And it's been the biggest gift because mentally, I know I have a break coming. I know, like, okay, 2 days, like 2 more days, like I'm pushing through, but then I get a break because I think when it's just so much, I think it's that postpartum.
Relentless.
Yeah. It's that postpartum depression feeling is I think it's that feeling, the rockabye baby. I have a close friend whose husband describes when they first had their baby, trying to rock her to sleep and she wouldn't go to sleep, and he wanted to just squeeze her.
Yes.
Just squeeze her to stop crying, but it's like, I love you so much.
I'm not going to do that, but I want to.
Yes.
But interesting that this impulse is here. Is that making me a bad person?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much information now, between postpartum depression and just normalizing about how hard it is and how exhausting it is that I think some people know. I hope, but I know,
I think you're in the clinical community.
I know.
You've got a lot of friends that are pretty educated.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that a lot of people that I talk to feel that they should be just pretty happy all the time about
right.
parenting. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't work with as many moms as you do, but that's a general census I get from them.
Like something must be horribly wrong.
Right. And it goes straight to shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Not that's used for more information, but that's an old feeling for them.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time holding that.
Mm-hmm. I know, and it's so sad. Mm-hmm. It's so sad to me because not only are they re-experiencing that old feeling that isn't actually, it doesn't have to exist in that relationship, but the way that shame takes over, they lose the opportunity for that moment to attune, right? The hard work part that gets you to Christmas morning, that bond that just feels so good when, all I think about when the hard days is when my children are adults. I think about the relationship I'll get to have with them. I want my boys to know, I want them to have a relationship with me. I want them to enjoy talking to me because they feel known by me, because especially with boys, if I don't work hard at it now, most boys kind of go off.
Okay, so I really want to address that because, and not just boys or girls, I think that there is that feeling, especially for people who listen to maybe this podcast now, and maybe their parents who their children are teenagers or grown. And you start to feel like, well, I guess any of this attunement stuff now is futile. Or they're, and especially when they're teenagers, because, they're kind of like, don't hug me, get the hell away from me. And then already that's this angst of individuation. And so pursuing them and trying to attune is so much more difficult in some ways for the parent because it's not already there, the bond you're talking about, which you want. What you're saying is I want that to already be created. Yes. And then as adults, gosh, if they've already left the house and it's not there, then you're like, well, I guess we don't get it. And I want to say I'm passionate about because I work with a lot of adults and the parents who I'm passionate about saying it is not too late.
Yeah.
Right.
If you as a parent at any age from, all the way up till you die, if you sit there and you reach out and you attune and you take some responsibility that maybe you misattuned and you didn't give empathy and that maybe you didn't always see them and you didn't always do the greatest job, that gift is going to be so powerful. You may need to be very persistent.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to tolerate all those emotions you never wanted to tolerate the whole time you were raising them.
Right.
But you do that for, I'd say, you persist for about a year on doing that, and your life's changed and you get your child back, I promise.
Yeah.
Because every child
desires
a relationship.
Yeah.
And when you're children or when you're an adult, the thing that's true is that, and I always tell parents this, whatever age, the kids just need you to acknowledge the bad and then they can remember the good. But they forget the good if you don't acknowledge and take responsibility for the bad. It gets forgotten. But as soon as you take responsibility and acknowledge the bad, oh my gosh, it's like all this good memory shows up for them that they didn't even remember was there. And so I would say it's never futile.
Yeah.
It's always figure out how to attune and empathize while holding boundaries.
Yes. 3 things.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But gosh, what a blessing that you're doing this hard work now.
Right. And I'll still mess up.
And you're still messing up.
And my husband and I talk all the time, like, okay, we try and almost anticipate, like, where will this son feel missed? I think you miss him sometimes because you miss them, right? Just like sometimes I'll miss a friend and we'll have to have a conversation and be like, oh, I didn't realize, I'm sorry. Or my husband and I, have married 10 years and we still will miss each other. So that's going to happen. But our goal is to have kind of that foundation so that conversation can happen. That there is that door is pretty easy for our sons to open to say, hey, you missed me.
But Amanda and I know most definitely, right, that what's the most beautiful thing about being missed? What does it give opportunity for? Repair, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing that all the time, right?
Exactly.
So
that's what we want.
You're teaching them how to then parent their kids and how to have a relationship with their spouses,
right? And to repair.
You're willing.
And to repair, because I think for us, it was really scary to, things to happen and to think that was it. Even when Spencer and I were first married. So for us to even teach them, like, oh, we missed each other, but we're here and it's okay. Right? Yes. That it doesn't have to be a really big deal.
Yes.
That even the repair. You can miss
it's all right.
Because there's repair. It's okay. Yeah. So all of that.
Well, I think we're wrapping up here.
Yeah.
What are we thinking the title of this podcast is? And I think we were getting really into discussion there. Did you have any final thoughts too, Amanda? Because I feel like I wanted to give you an opportunity to share a little bit here too.
Yeah, no, I'm just soaking it in. I love hearing your experiences, both personally and with clients. Thinking about a title, am I a good enough mom?
Yeah. That's the feeling. Am I a good enough parent? Yeah. I wish there was an easier way to talk about attunement and bond, to like sift it and like make it, I don't know.
Can I tolerate unpleasant emotions with my children? It's like you're trying to get into that piece of, because what are we saying? What makes a good mom? What's the thing that we're saying, or a good dad, or a good caregiver? What we are concluding something. I'm hearing.
I would say, what makes a good mom or a good dad is to do the work to know where their stuff is, so that when their kids have their stuff, they can then learn to hold the tension, right? To hold that tension so they can have the attunement. I think it's like both. Like, it's really hard to just decide to be attuned to your kids and hold all those tensions when you don't know where your stuff is, how big it is, how much space it's taking up. You kind of need to know where it ends, or at least the idea, right? It keeps going sometimes, but but I think when you know where your stuff very well, it makes it really easy to make space for your children's, and then to hold that tension.
And the stuff what do you mean when you say stuff?
Oh, like my own issues. Like my own abandonment triggers and my own stuff that I'm, working to heal. And because before I knew all those things, there wasn't a lot of space to consider and really, really consider other people's stuff.
Yes.
Right? Because it was just blurring into it. And that's what happens a lot with our kids. Like, our stuff kind of like seeps in, to theirs. And then it's really hard to know what's what. And then we shut down because now we're we can't tell what's what, and we feel like we're doing a bad job. And so we end up either pretending like we're not doing a good job, or in denial, or now we're in our shame, and we handle that a certain way. And all along we're missing what we really desire. So I think when you can you have your resources to hold yourself, then you could teach your kid to do that by attuning. So I think how did you say it for the title?
Or am I an attuned parent?
good enough parent, attuned parent?
Good enough is always good. I always love that. It takes so much pressure off. Attune. I wish we could do it. I just don't know.
Yeah. All right. So am I a good enough parent? I think that's a great question for everyone to ask. And realizing, I think what we're saying is that, it's not that hard to be a good enough parent if you seek out understanding yourself and some resources.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. This was a lovely conversation. I think we'll need to continue on with this and more parenting topics in the future if you're willing.
Yeah. So I have my first one, so I think I could handle it again.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Loved hearing you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Don't Go There podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please review us on iTunes. To learn more about any of us, go to www.don'tgotherepodcast.com or www.gazellepsychotherapy.com. Thanks again.